Hello everyone, a very warm welcome to the Hindu newspaper Analysis Townhall. Today is 11th of October and we're going to have a look at the following articles from the Hindu newspaper. First one, Nobel Peace Prize. Nobel Peace Prize went to the Maria Machado of Venezuela for her fight for the restoration of democracy in Venezuela. The prize did not go to the President Donald Trump. We'll have a look at this. Second, NCRB has released the data on the crimes in India. We'll see what are the various areas where the crimes have been increasing. Cyber crimes are on a rise in India. Third, ceasefire between Israel and Hamas. What is the ceasefire and what are the various provisions of the peace plan? We will have a look at. Fourth, need of a holistic demographic mission. Here we will see how demographic study and how the data on the demography of India should be available so that relevant policies can be framed. Fifth, microfinance loans default has been surged. We will have a look at what are microfinance loans and how the default has increased. First one, yes, Venezuela's Maria Machado. Basically, she was an opposition leader and she fought for the restoration of democracy in Venezuela and she got the Nobel Peace Prize. President Trump did not get the prize. Basically, the prize was given for the efforts made by the candidates in the year 2024. Okay, so President Trump has got a peace with the Nobel Peace Prize with this thing that, okay, he has done his efforts in 2025, not the 2024. So what is Nobel Peace Prize? It was established in 1901 along with the other Nobel Prizes in physics, chemistry, medicine, literature, and it is awarded by Norwegian Nobel Committee. Now the Norwegian Nobel Committee के जो members हैं, they are appointed by the Norway's Parliament only. So basically it is the Norway's Parliament that constitute Norway's Nobel Committee, and this committee gives the Nobel Prize. The purpose of the Nobel Peace Prize is to honor the individuals, organization who have made the outstanding contribution to peace, conflict resolution, democracy, etc. From India, there have been two Nobel Peace Prize recipients who at the time of the receiving the prize were Indian citizens. First one is Mother Teresa and second is Kailash Satyarthi. So this is about the Nobel Peace Prize. Second, NCRB report. NCRB has released the report for the crime happened in the 2023. The report has been delayed by a year. It should have been released last year only, but it was not released. So basically there is a culture of postponement in India currently going on, like postponed surveys, reports, even the census has been postponed. It was supposed to be conducted in 2021, but due to COVID it was shifted. Now it's 2025 and census has not even started. Okay, the trial phase is going to be started, I think, this week from the Delhi. So what are the various data which the report gives us? First data, murder cases have fallen. Okay, this is something good. Then it comes the two things, crimes against scheduled tribe and cybercrime. There's an increase of 28.8% in the crime against scheduled tribe. Okay. Now the ethnic violence in Manipur is a major factor behind this increase. The violence increased in Manipur from 1 to 3,399 cases. That is almost 3,400 cases. Okay. Also, there is a vulnerability in the Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, the central Indian states where the tribal population lives. So here the violence against the crime against the tribal population have witnessed and have got more reporting. So it has increased by almost 30%. Second aspect is the increase in cybercrime. Cybercrime is also an increase. There's an increase of 31.2% increase in the cybercrime. With greater internet penetration, cybercrime has increased. Basically the financial fraud, sexual exploitation happening on the internet, privacy breach. So all these crimes have increased in India after the digital revolution. Crime against children has also increased and crime against women has also increased marginally. Okay, crime because of the dowry has increased by more than almost 15%. Okay, now the one more thing for the prelims is what is NCRB. NCRB was basically established in 1986 to act as a repository of information on crime and criminals. ये डेटा लेता है, डेटा कहाँ से लेता है? ये पुलिस स्टेशन से ये फील्ड में जाके डेटा कलेक्ट नहीं करता है. So basically what has been reported from the FIRs, it takes the data directly from there. So basically what it is doing, it is collecting the data and therefore making it into a, like the presenting the data into such a form where it can be analyzed. It was based on the recommendation of the Tandon committee. Also, there were other committees like National Police Commission and the Task Force of the Home Ministry, on whose recommendation this NCRB was set up. It comes under the Ministry of Home Affairs and it is headquartered in New Delhi. Okay. Yes, third one. Ceasefire. Ceasefire takes effect as Israel forces pull back to agreed areas. Israel-Hamas war was going on, right? Now the US or say Trump plan came for the peace, which is known as Gaza peace plan. Basically, the pressure on the United States was because many European countries have started recognizing Palestine as a separate nation. Therefore, recognizing Palestine, it will not go fine with the Israel. Therefore, it will not go fine with the US. And also one more reason was the Nobel Peace Prize, which the president wanted. So he wanted a peace deal to be signed before the 10th of October, the date for the Nobel Peace Prize announcement. So under these circumstances, the Gaza peace plan was formulated. We will see basically the features of the Gaza peace plan. Now the peace plan has been accepted by the Israel as well as Hamas. Okay. So what are the features? First one, there should be immediate ceasefire and release of the hostages from both the side. Okay. This is the first thing. Obviously ceasefire होगा, release होगा hostage का, तभी वो peace plan होगा. सेकेंड, नॉन डिस्प्लेसमेंट नहीं होगा. जो पैलेस्टीनियन गाजा में है, बेसिकली इजराइल wants Gaza, entire Gaza, but Palestinian population is there. That is why it is bombing it. So those Palestinians have been given the assurance that they would not be displaced from their shelters. This is the second thing. Third, this is interesting. Creation of an international governance body. It will be known as Board of Peace. And who will be the chairman of this? President Trump. Board of Peace, Peace Prize. Okay, this will administer basically this treaty and the Gaza situation. Then there will be an international stabilization force. ये force जो है deploy की जाएगी in Gaza so that to maintain the peace and order and also to see the oversee implementation of the peace plan. अब इसके साथ issue क्या है international stabilization force के साथ? इसके ऊपर कोई clarity नहीं है that which countries will contribute the armed forces or the members to this stabilization force, from where they will come. Okay, what will be their mandate? Next, continued Israeli security presence. अब इजराइल ने बोला कि वो वहां पर एक पैरामीटर सिक्योर किया जाएगा गाजा में, जिसमें इजराइल विल मेंटेन इट्स फोर्सेस. Demobilization of Hamas, but Hamas को disarm करना होगा, demobilize करना होगा from that region. Also, Palestinian will be excluded from the top governance until and unless there are reforms in their authority. Basically, जो Palestine की authority है, जो decision making है, जब तक उसमें reforms नहीं होते, until and unless reforms are there, they will be excluded from the top governance of Palestine, right? The Gaza. अब ये पूरा peace plan हो गया, but there is no talk. First of all, exclusion तो हो गया Palestinian का. Second, there is no talk of Palestinian state. Basically, separate Palestinian state का इसमें कोई mention नहीं है. So basically, what Palestinian people got from this? They got the partial or say temporary peace or say non-bombing of the Israel on them. So we'll see how it will evolve. Now the peace prize has been announced, Nobel Peace Prize. So what President Trump does and how it will evolve. Next article, the real need is a holistic demographic mission. अब इसमें क्या है मेन थिंग, सेंट्रल थीम ये है कि इंडिपेंडेंस डे पे इंडिया ने एक डेमोग्राफिक मिशन अनाउंस किया था. ओके, उसमें क्या था बेसिकली, द मिशन स्टेटेड दैट इट विल मॉनिटर अनडॉक्यूमेंटेड इमिग्रेशन फ्रॉम बांग्लादेश एंड इट्स इम्प्लाइड डेमोग्राफिक इन इंडियाज बॉर्डर रीजन. ये इसका स्टेटेड मिशन था. नाउ द ऑथर ऑफ दिस आर्टिकल बेसिकली सेज दैट दिस demographic mission should not be limited only to those coming from Bangladesh, but it should be applied to entire India. And not and what should be the features of these demographic plan? This is given by the in the article. Okay. The context is India's population structure is basically shifting. Definitely in the 1970s, 80s, 19s, what used to happen? There was a high fertility rate. Like high fertility rate, that is more births. Mortality was also high. The death rate was also high. So because of the higher death rate, also the fertility rate was high, because people used to have more children because they were always apprehensive that some of them will not survive. Now the population has shifted from high fertility and mortality to low fertility, because the low fertility, it has fallen below 2.1 in India, and also the longevity is increasing because of the better health infrastructure. It has increased to almost 70 years in India now. Okay, so the youth bulge which will peak around 2043, इंडिया का यूथ पॉपुलेशन जो है हमारे पास 2025 से लेके 2043 तक का जो बैंडविड्थ था 18 years, उस टाइम पे यंग पॉपुलेशन इज इंक्रीजिंग. It is on the increasing trend. So it provides us with the opportunities for the economic growth, which is basically called as demographic dividend. But at the same time, the risk is if this population is not provided appropriate employment, education, health infrastructure, then it can become from demographic dividend to demographic blunder. Okay. So what are the key issues highlighted here? What should be the basic features of a demographic mission? कैसे अपनी डेमोग्राफी की प्रोफाइल हम बनाएं? दिस इज द मेन थिंग. पहली बात, फर्स्ट थिंग इज नीड फॉर ए होलिस्टिक डेमोग्राफी मिशन. Demography does not mean that it should have a data of population only. No, it is not only about the population number or border management. It should encompass demographic transition. So last 2 decades में demographic transition कैसे हुआ है? Basically old age की population increase है या decrease है? Young population increase है, decrease है? Women, child. So all this profile from the last 2 decades we should have, and accordingly the education, health and skill policy should be made, and accordingly the infrastructure should be set up. Then migration has been called as a balancing force. Kaise? If there are states, for example there is Haryana or say Punjab or say Delhi, there is state Bihar, UP. These states are heavy population, these states are less population. So migration acts as a balancing force, where the migration acts as a balancing force, where it increases the population of the host country, host state, and reduces the population of the source state. So this is a population balancer. But what is the issue? India's political discourse on migration remains exclusionary. How? Migrants, they face hostility, they face disenfranchisement and loss of belongings. There's a constitutional dilemma also, because migrants lose the voting rights in their home state because they are no longer the usual resident of that state, and they either their voting ID is being cancelled or they are not able to go to their state to and vote. But at the same time, they are not enfranchised in the host state either, so they become the ghost citizens. Use these terms in your paper, ghost citizens. Then longevity, राइजिंग लाइफ एक्सपेक्टेंसी. पॉपुलेशन की जो लाइफ है वो बढ़ रही है 70, 75. अर्लियर से इफ द रिटायरमेंट एज वाज 55 and the average life was 65, but now average life has increased to 70. It can increase further in the upcoming time. So what the article says, that the definition of working age needs to be revisited, redefining aging and productive life. Basically we need to encourage the young and old both, so that they remain economically active, because now we have better health infrastructure and better health facilities. So older people, those who are above 55 or 60, they should also be encouraged to remain economically active, because if they are not economically active, with time the old population is increasing, young population is falling. So the old population, if not working, will become a liability. Not say liability, but at the same time you have to take care of it. But if you are providing the health facilities, then old population can also remain economically active. Then data planning policy integration should be there. We should not limit ourselves such as per capita indicators, which ignores the population composition. So demographic mission must ensure continuous demographic monitoring, integration of data into policy decision, and demographic sensitivity. So basically, this article discusses what should be the features of a demographic policy and what all parameters should be included so that relevant policies can be made. Okay. Next, microfinance loan default. Microfinance basically chota loan hota, it can be less than 1 lakh, less than 2 lakh rupees. Okay, and this loan is more or less given without any collateral. Main aim is inclusive growth and also financial inclusion. Okay, but the report says that the loans which have been given under the microfinance schemes to the small borrowers, the default rate has increased. That is, more and more people are now not repaying the loan. Bihar has performed the worst in this. This report has been released by Sadhan, which is a self-regulated microfinance body. Okay. Now the microfinance loan which are overdue by more than 30 days, it has increased from 2.1% to 6.2%. This is a big increase. Okay. Also, 90 days है जो ज़्यादा overdue है, it has increased to 4.8% from 1.6%. So almost tripled. Okay. Bihar had the worst repaying average. For the 2.3 lakh crore of loan outstanding for rural customers, 6.4 were overdue. Rural population के लिए यहाँ पर rural population has not paid the loan as higher. Number of the rural people who have not paid the loan is higher than the urban centers. So this is some data regarding the microfinance in India. So this is it for today. I am attaching these notes in the comment box. If you have any query, you can ask. I will see you on Monday. Till then, good luck. Goodbye. Thank you.